Welcome to CLA 105, Basic Reporting Techniques, Study Session 1, History of Journalism. Introduction. Every profession across the world has its own history and peculiarities, and to perform successfully, every professional is expected to understand the history of his profession. Without any exemption, it is a fundamental requirement that as a student of communication and language arts, you are familiar with the historical background of journalism and what the profession journalism itself entails. Therefore, given the fact that one of the core objectives of this course is to prepare you for the real professional challenges you are likely to meet as a journalist, we shall open our discussions with a brief stride into the history of journalism. In doing so, we shall trace the historical evolution journalism both at the global and local levels. Learning outcome. After you have studied this study session, you should be able to 1. Evaluate journalism as a profession. 2. Outline the history of journalism. Meaning of journalism. Journalism is the art of collecting, sorting, editing, and writing of news or news articles, features, for public consumption through the mass media, newspapers, magazines, radio, television, internet. It is a profession or an occupation of gathering information from daily events and making such piece of information available to the mass audience through publication in newspapers and magazines or broadcast on electronic media. However, with advent of the internet, journalism has now incorporated sharing of information through internet-enabled news media, that is, the Web 2.0 platforms such as Facebook, Blogspot, Twitter, Wikis, Tumblr, Weibo, RSS, as NARS 2017 describes it. Journalism is a form of writing that tells people about events that really happened, but about which the public might not have known before it is reported. Those who practice journalism are journalists. They gather, edit, and write news for the mass media. There is no doubt that journalism is a profession. Before one becomes a practicing journalist, in most countries of the world, including Nigeria, one must have gone through some formal professional training. In Nigeria, for instance, at least a diploma in journalism, mass communication, or related discipline is mandatory for a person who wants to practice journalism. Besides, all journalists in Nigeria, like other professionals such as medical doctors, lawyers, and engineers, have professional code of conduct, ethics that guides their activities. Violation of any of the provisions of this code always attracts specified sanction by the appropriate professional bodies such as Nigerian Union of Journalists, Nigerian Press Organizations, Nigerian Guild of Editors, or Nigerian Press Council. Journalism is a profession of all professions because it was a weapon that many developed nations such as America, France, and the Great Britain used to establish their stable and just societies. Doyle 2005, Carlson and Lewis 2015. It was the same weapon that many African countries used to fight and win the War of Independence. History of journalism. The word journalism was derived from the French word journal. Originally, the French journal came from the Latin word diurna, meaning daily. Wikiquote 2012. Journalism is an old profession which predates printing. However, the advent of printing enhanced journalism as a profession. Before the advent of printing, there had been a kind of journalism where handwriting, decrees, edicts, royal declaration, and bits of information were disseminated. Such items of information usually originated from the kings and were directed at the subjects. Examples were the instance of town crier in some traditional African settings, and the cases of King Xerxes in the book of Esther and King Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel of the Holy Bible. What we have as the professional journalism today metamorphosed through some phases or stages of development. To achieve clarity, we shall enumerate some notable segments of this historical track, starting from the global level to the Nigerian context. In 868 AD, the oldest preserved block printed book, Diamond Sutra, was published. In 1454, Johannes Gutenberg invented the movable type. This marks the beginning of more permanent writing printing. In 1476, modern printing came into being through the pioneering efforts of William Caxton, a renowned British printer who invented the printing press in Europe. In 1638, printing began in America. In 1690, America published our first newspaper, Public Occurrences. It was published by Benjamin Harris and it lasted only one issue. In 1702, first daily newspaper in English, the Daily Courant, was published in London. In 1784, first successful daily newspaper in America, the Pennsylvania Packet and Daily Advertiser, Philadelphia, were published. In 1846, the first printing press in Nigeria was introduced in Calabar by Reverend Hope Masterson Waddell, a Presbyterian from the Church of Scotland. The printing press was used to propagate religious and educational matters. Later, in 1885, he published a vernacular newspaper, the Umana Efik. In 1857, the first African newspaper, African Herald, was published in Ghana. Nigeria's first newspaper, Ìwé Ìròyìn fún àwọn ará Ẹ̀gbá. The newspaper for the Egba people was established in 1859 in Abeokuta by a Scottish Reverend gentleman, Henry Townsend. The newspaper was initially published in the Yoruba language, but the English version was introduced in March 1860. The newspaper was primarily used to promote Christian evangelism, European lifestyle, and campaign against slave trade, but it later expanded its coverage to political matters. Between the early age and now, journalism has undergone a tremendous metamorphosis, moving away from being a mere king mouthpiece to that of a hobby and that of a full profession. Technologies have expanded the scope of journalism, which started as a business of the print media, to radio, television, and the internet. Study session summary. In this study session, we explain the meaning of journalism and who a journalist is. We trace the origin of the word journalism to the French word journal, which also came from the Latin word journal, meaning daily. We finally highlighted the evolution of journalism as a profession. End of study session 1. Thanks for listening.